Is Damon Arnette going to be returning to the NFL? It's probably why you clicked on today's show, and it's going to be how I end today's program. Before we dive into that, though, let's get into some of the latest Raiders rumors around Alex Cappa. Is he going to be the starting right guard here for the Silver and Black? And then also, could Thayer Munford potentially be cut by this regime? If you do not already know, if you hit that subscribe button, I promise you this, you're going to become a smarter Raiders fan. Honestly, if I see something's 100% free, I think you're smart to click that subscribe button. I would say you'd be dumb not to. My number one thing that I'm going to say to a lot of Raiders fans out there is this. Give me 1 week. Watch this show, and if you don't feel like that you learned at least one thing, you can unsubscribe. It's 100% free. Let's get into the very first story here on the Raiders Report, and is Alex Cappa going to be the starting right guard for the Silver and Black this upcoming season? I got to give this one 2 just win babies, and if you're new to the show, 2 just win babies means it's a 50% chance of happening. It's a coin flip. I could make an argument of why he's going to be the starter, and I can make an argument of why he wouldn't be the starter. But according to a report from the Athletic, Cappa is the early favorite to be the starting right guard for this Las Vegas Raiders team. Earlier this offseason, Pete Carroll and John Spytek, they signed Cappa to a 2-year, $11 million contract, and he was drafted by Spytek and the Bucs back in 2018, and he was a part of that regime from 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. We know how important relationships matter to this organization, and I get it. Dylan Parham was a part of the team last season. I get it. Jordan Meredith, he went out and he showed out last season. But we got to be able to look at brand new regime, brand new offensive line coach, and if they brought in one of their own guys, I could see that happening. Now, the reason why I am re-talking about this, because my job on this show, and this is what I like to do in the offseason, when I see reports out there from, I don't give a shit who it is. If you talk about the Raiders in my mind, I'm going to talk about what you talked about. And I saw that the Athletic had this to say on Alex Cappa over the weekend. Cappa is the early favorite to start at right guard, largely because he easily has the most experience of the group. But he has dealt with injuries the last couple of years and has to prove he can be depended on. It'll essentially be a 4-way competition at guard. Now, a 4-way might be something that you could run into in Las Vegas, but this is a good 4-way and a good problem to have for our new offensive line coach and Brandon Carroll. And I do really think JPJ is going to be the center. I've been saying it for months, and even JPJ introduced himself to Ashton Jeanty as, hey, I'm going to be your starter. It looks like DJ Glaze is going to be in there at right tackle, and it looks like Colton Miller is going to be the left tackle. But I do think for a lot of Raiders fans out there, we're going, all right, well, who's going to be the right guard? All right, well, who's going to play left guard? And I do think between Caleb Rogers, Alex Cappa, Dylan Parham, and Jordan Meredith, they are all going to be battling for that spot. They are all going to be competing, which is going to be the number one word that we're going to say probably a lot this offseason, because that's what Pete Carroll wants. He wants guys to go out there and he wants them to compete. Now, I will say that, yes, I do anticipate that if the season started today, it's Alex Cappa's job to lose. But I'll be real, and it's not going to be rocket science. It's not going to be shocking for anybody that watches the show. This makes me nervous, and it should make Raiders fans nervous too if Cappa is the starting at right guard, because it almost just gives me some of that Cody White hair feel again, where it's like he was really bad the year before, and Cappa was really bad in 2024, but because we have a brand new regime, they're trying to tell me, well, maybe it won't be so bad. I don't know if you watched Cappa last season. 8 sacks allowed. That was the most out of any starting offensive lineman. The overall PFF grade of 50.5. He was bad in the passing game. He was bad in the running game. He allowed 36 hurries, which I believe, again, was the most hurries allowed out of any starting or offensive guard in the NFL last season. And one of my biggest concerns is if he's as bad as what he was last year, that's going to spoil. It's definitely not going to help the growth of somebody like DJ Glaze. It's not going to help the running game with Ashton Jeanty, and it's certainly not going to help our quarterback, Geno Smith, who dealt with the worst interior pressure rate last year. Big worries there. The next concern is health, and I think that depending on how you look at health is kind of the same way that honestly I would describe health with a player even like Nate Hobbs, where even though Hobbs was able to go out there on the field, he was always seemingly banged up with something. And Cappa's that very, very similar conversation because ever since the ankle injury, and he has had this lingering ankle issue, which has led to some lingering knee issues. It's led to lingering leg, like from top to bottom, from his ankle to his knee, his hammy. He's dealt with a lot of different things. And even though he's only missed one regular season game, it's because he's a tough dude, which you got to tip your cap to. But I also need somebody who's healthy. And I also need somebody out there who makes our offensive line better. One of the other things that I want y'all to go look at is somebody's health at the end of the season, because it's important to have somebody in the regular season, and obviously it's important to have somebody healthy throughout the entirety of September, October, November, and December. But I also need a guy that I can rely on in December, in January. And you go back and you look at Cappa, he has suffered a lot of season ending. He has suffered a lot of injuries that haven't really made him available or healthy, despite him playing in December and in January. The final reason why it does make me a little bit nervous is because when I originally saw the Alex Cappa contract at 2 years, $11 million, it's essentially a one-year prove-it deal for $5. But when you look at all of the contracts and all the deals that the Raiders did in free agency, they went out and they signed Cappa so early that they made him a priority. And when the Raiders have done that this offseason, they've been doing that with players that they believe are going to start. So to me, they went out and got Cappa with their mindset of, you know what, this is going to be a starting offensive lineman for the Raiders. And that does make me nervous. So this will be the pinned comment here on today's show. And if you don't know what a pinned comment is, it is the number one question that I want the nation to answer. What is your confidence level in Cap? I want you to scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1, you have no confidence. 10, he's a freaking lock to be a Pro Bowler, baby. I'm going to sit up here and go, as a starter, it's a 3 out of 10. And that even is probably a little bit higher than what I thought it was going to be. I am hopeful, and I believe in this regime. But if you told me we're going to bring him in to be the 6th man, the 7th offensive lineman, to be a good veteran on that interior, to add competition, to be depth, I think that's an 8 out of 10, which, if that's the move, I'm okay with it. If he's just going to be thrown out there to be the starter, I'm worried we're going to see a little Cody White hair 2.0. Now, here's why I'm going to sit down and go, this is why I am hoping it could work. New offense could potentially be a better fit. Maybe he was just too banged up the past few seasons with the Buccaneers, trying to play through injuries, and he knew that he was trying to earn a new contract. Not that he's not trying to earn a new contract now, but maybe this is a new offense with Chip Kelly that's going to help him be the best version that he can be. Also, he's going to go out there and compete. When you're given the deal that he was given, 1 year, $5 million, which we'll throw that in there with his contract, you got essentially a guy playing for a new contract on a brand new team with a bunch of young players. When you add a veteran who is hungry for another contract and you put him with a bunch of 2 rookies and then another young player in Jordan Meredith and then another guy in Dylan Parham who's in his contract year, you add all that together, and I think what you're going to see is Alex Cappa is going to make those 4 offensive linemen that we talked about earlier that are going to be competing for offensive guard. Everybody's going to get better because of it. Let's go to another player that might be a little bit of an afterthought, and it is Thayer Munford. And I've featured Munford in a lot of shows this offseason. And do I think Munford's going to be cut? There's definitely a chance. Before I tell you what the likelihood of this is, if you don't know where you can get yourself a Raiders jersey, man, I don't know what to tell you. We've been posting these up on the show for a while, and we got tons and tons of different jerseys from your rookies. We have some veterans. I have seen a lot of people go, well, Mitch, I only buy old school, like Raiders legend jerseys. They're also available at chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys. Bottom line, black jerseys, white jerseys, they even have them in camo. If you need a brand new Raiders jersey for this upcoming season, this link that you see is going to be available to y'all down in the comments and in the description of today's program. All right, could Thayer Munford be cut this season? I'm going to give this one 2 just win, babies, and I'm going to say that people are talking about it. Would I want the Raiders to cut Munford right now? No. Do I want the Raiders to try to trade Munford this offseason? If the plan is to cut him, I'd rather the Raiders try to just trade him first and get literally anything out of him. But if the report is right now that Munford could be the odd man out from Sports Illustrated, my first answer to that is I'm not shocked by this statement at all. It's a statement that I've made multiple times on this show. But the fact that Munford is a 7th-round pick in the final year of his contract with a brand new regime on top of the fact of all the players that I already mentioned, from Caleb Rogers to Jordan Meredith to Dylan Barham to Alex Cappa, DJ Glaze, I really truly believe that when it comes to Munford, it's really going to come down to Dalton Wagner as well, because Wagner is also a UDFA, and Wagner and Munford do all hang out with the same people on the Raiders team. Like, if there's a hockey game, if there's an event, a lot of these offensive linemen do honestly hang out. But moving on from Munford isn't necessarily just the knock on Munford. Yeah, he was really bad last season. Let's keep it a buck. He was not good last season, and moving on from him, you can save a little bit of money. Not a lot of money, but you can sign essentially another veteran. The fact that you drafted 2 offensive linemen, big reason there. But it's also a huge tip to the cap to DJ Glaze and the work that he did, because I really think that when the Raiders drafted Glaze, they were saying, all right, if Glaze comes in and competes with Munford, one of these players is going to turn into somebody that we want, a potential starting right tackle that can also play guard if need be. Munford unfortunately struggled last year. And because he's got a brand new regime, if this team decides to keep 9 offensive linemen, I think he's going to make it. If they decide to not keep 9, I don't see how the hell he ends up making this roster. Coming up next here on the show, Damon Arnette. What year is it? How are we talking about Arnette again? And is he potentially returning to the NFL? Find out which NFL insiders got a new scoop on the former first-round pick, Damon Arnette. Before I get into that, though, huge shout-out to the people that were down to bang on our Friday Madden Week 1 sim. Husker Raider, Fabian Moreno, Patrick Roach, Ed Robbins. I hear you, I see you, and I know that the nation appreciates you. If you want an update on our May Bang race, Fabian Moreno, a.k.a. Night Devil, right now is out to a big-time early lead. And if you don't know, or if you live out in the Tucson area, go check out Desert Shark Tucson if you need some awesome poke bowls. I got to try to get out there and get some food. Fabian, thank you for being a legend this month. Let's talk about Damon Arnette, and shout out to Chugs for finding this picture, because he looks a little bit different. And this is what Arnette had to say recently about potentially making a return to the NFL. With coaches, I feel like I've proved a complete turnaround. All the coaches that have been with me right now, I feel like the words would be more valuable because I've said a lot of things in the past. What I would say is what they see on film, that's me being out of commission for 3 years. I'm a dog on the field. I'm more of a professional now than ever was before. I wasn't a professional before. I was just a dog. I found professionalism and a calm state of mind. I feel like I'm the best version of myself and that I've ever been. So my question to all of you is this. I know Damon Arnette was once a former first-round pick by the Raiders in 2020. I also know how the NFL works. In my mind, if you're good enough, it doesn't matter what your past is. If you're good enough, the NFL is going to find a home for you. What do you all say? Yes or no? Will Damon Arnette return to the National Football League? Here's my answer on this. And there might be a team crazy enough to do it. But do I think right now, would I bet any money that Arnette's going to return to the NFL? No. Tuck rule, tuck that. And honestly, you got to be an effing moron, I think, if you're a team, to take on the responsibility of Arnette, because you're not just taking on a football player. You almost got to babysit him based on the actions that he's done in the past. And I know that UFL quarterback and wide receiver play, it's not nearly as good as what you're going to get at the NFL level. And actually, if you've been watching the UFL, Arnette hasn't been playing all that bad. The problem is he's going to be turning 29 in September. And if you're a smart team, like, why are you going to take on the headache of a 29-year-old cornerback when there are other players that are still on the market that I think could do a better job? I get it. Ohio State, former first-round pick, but I never really thought he was a first. We had more of a third and fourth round grade on him, but 18 tackles, a sack, a pick six. He's done all this at the UFL. He hasn't played, though, in the NFL since 2022, and the last team that he played on was the Kansas City Chiefs. If you were to tell me which team do I think could take a flyer on Arnette and make it work out, I think a lot of people would go, I think it's probably Kansas City because they seemingly are the team that can do it all the time. They already tried, and it was a disaster. Arnette was not only cut, though, for bad play, he was cut for poor behavior. And I am somebody where I know that everybody wants to give people a second chance. But how many chances is Damon Arnette going to get? Because we're not working on a second chance. We're not even working on a third chance. Hell, I don't know if we're working on a fourth or fifth chance. My biggest concern with Arnette is people don't know a lot of the other things that have happened outside of football. And Arnette, I'll be honest, I don't think is a good human being. And I don't think that that's unfair for me to say, because if you're going to throw a quote in my face of, hey, Damon Arnette deserves another shot because he's turned his life around and everything that I just talked about, do we not remember what Damon Arnette said in 2023? If I'm blessed enough to get another chance in the NFL, then I'm going to kill that. I've learned a lot. I'm remorseful about everything. I appreciate and respect another opportunity. I'm a better man than I was. This is what Damon Arnette said in 2023. It sounds exactly like what he just said in 2025. And then what did he do? He goes out in 2024 and he gets arrested for having meth on him and for having a firearm. My point is, this is the prime example of the little boy that cried wolf. And it's really hard sometimes to do this job because I also get that Arnette's probably trying to get back into the league. He's probably trying to do better for himself, and I'm happy that he's trying to do that type of stuff. But my job here is to be able to talk about the Raiders and talk about the NFL, and I think that if an NFL team wanted to take on the responsibility of Damon Arnette, you're crazy. And I just can't imagine a team wanting to do that. I can't imagine a football team being desperate enough to sign Damon Arnette. Maybe I'm wrong, and if I am, I'll end up eating the L's later on for it, but all I hope is that the Las Vegas Raiders will not be the team bringing Damon Arnette back to the NFL.